Ready? Really ready?
Yep.
Let's own this.
Let America be America.
Live again.
Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free.
Let America be the dream, the dreamer's dream. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme. That any man be crushed by one above.
It never was America to me.
Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe.
There's never been equality for me, or freedom in this homeland of the free.
Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars?
I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak.
Wow. I am a young man, full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed.
I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream. Beaten yet today, O pioneers. I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker, bartered through the years.
Yet I am the one who dreamt the basic dream, in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings. In every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I am the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I am the one who left the dark Ireland shore, in Poland's plain and England's grassy lea. And torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free.
The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today? The millions shot down when we strike? The millions who have nothing for our pain? For all the dreams we dreamed, and all the songs we sung, and all the hopes we held, and all the flags we hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay, except to the dream that's almost dead today.
Oh, let America be America again, the land that has never been yet. It must be the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, poor man's free, Indians, Negroes, made America, his sweat and blood, his faith and pain, his hand at the foundry, his plow in the rain, his bring back our mighty.
Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of craft, stealth, and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers,
The mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again.
Give yourself some snaps. I don't know, y'all, that feels good to me. It feels good to do something like that together. My hope is that the future of school is built by people who consider it for all of our children, not for just a few like we did in 1642, and not just for a few the way it felt to Langston Hughes in 1936. What I think is at the core
we have to change it is this, is that fundamentally we have been thinking about school as an institution, not a collection of human beings. And that frustrates me. It makes me mad. This is what Webster says. It's an organization. It's an institution. We have outsourced this idea of education to this non-human institution. That's a problem because humans can be left out. And indeed, from the very beginning, we have been leaving them out. And if we want to fix that, we have to ask questions about the institutions we've set up. So I propose a better, simpler definition. I don't own a dictionary company, so I'm not going to try and do all the other words, but I'm going to try and propose a new one here. Let me blow it up so you can read it. What if this was our working definition? What if we push back as a community on the idea that this is not about institutions, but about human beings learning together? And indeed, the distinction between learning and school is that it is done in community. What if that was our working definition of what we were all trying to build? That to me is a brighter future than the dark past. So I think that the future of school is fundamentally about human beings, not institutions. One implication of that is that we start thinking about human scale, not institutional scale. The industrial age concepts of big factories and scale economies have driven our thinking on school for more than 100 years. And if we shift to a lens that looks at this for human beings, we can start to think smaller. So let's go back to my definition. For the math pros in the room, if you're using the word humans, how many humans can you have? How small can that number be and it still be humans? Anybody? Two. Nice. What if, instead of thinking about let's get school as big as it can be so that we can have cost economies and scale and efficiency and serve our children and institutions, what if we started thinking about how small we can make it? And said the molecular level, at the molecular level, this is school. And anything smaller is just learning. But anything bigger than one, if they're doing it together, that's school. So if we start at that molecule and we start building up from there, where should we stop? Should we go all the way up to 1,000 or 10,000? One piece of inspiration for me is an anthropologist named Robin Dunbar, who did some really remarkable work on how many relationships can we as human beings maintain and truly understand each other. His research suggested that this was the number. And I'm not saying all schools should have to change to be between 2 and 148, but one of the reasons why we rely on this number is because if we build learning spaces at this scale, one of the assets that we can unlock are students themselves. Student-to-student learning is very hard to do in communities when there are many more than that number. But if we constrain ourselves to 2 to 148, what would happen? Could we unlock students as teachers? Not just learners, but teachers of one another, of us. That's the hypothesis around a lot of our micro school work, is that we challenge you to build schools smaller than this number so that you have the potential, according to his research, of unlocking true student-to-student teaching. And one of the reasons why we challenge you to test at scale much smaller than this is because you can start your organization, start that space on a footing that is fundamentally human scale. So I think the future of school is smaller because it can be more human. Another implication of shifting from institution to human scale is that we need to unbundle this big, giant thing that we have been building for centuries. One of my favorite techniques to break this down is to look at Chris Anderson's book, The Long Tail. He's the executive editor of Wired magazine, and he wrote a really remarkable, clear book about this concept, which he calls the long tail. Okay, so imagine, this is my horrible drawing, and I forgot the other parts of it, but imagine that I was a brachiosaurus eating some leaves off of a tree way over here. This is my head, this is my long tail. So that's where the metaphor comes from. This is the head of the distribution, and this is the tail. One way to think about this is to look at movies. This is a really good way to get this. Right, so movie theaters are expensive to build. They have bricks and mortar and big spaces, and it costs a lot to build them. And therefore, to get that money back, we have to make sure that the movies we play in them are going to attract a lot of people. So they have to be very popular. They have to be somewhat simpler than the average film, probably. Does that sound familiar to you? Any other institutions that you know of that sound like that? Well, a few decades ago, some folks got together and said, what if we just got some tapes and some, before DVDs existed, if y'all want to, movies came on tapes, and they were magnetic, and you put them in a machine, and they pop up with moving pictures on your television. Amazing, yes. Talk to me later if you want to learn more. But the folks at Blockbuster said, wait a second, if we get a store full of those, people can just drive down the street, and they can have tens, hundreds more options than they can at the Blockbuster movie theater. The cost of distribution at Blockbuster relative to the theater was radically lower. And in that, more choice. And that was good for us as consumers, because now we could start riding down the tail and watch a film that made it was more interesting to us than the Blockbuster might have been.
Exactly.
And what happened a decade after that? Reed Hastings started Netflix. Mm-hmm. And at first, he was not streaming. What he was doing, he was mailing you your DVDs, right?
Yeah.
So when he started, he was just trying to beat these guys at their own game, right? By saying, actually, I don't need to rent space, right? You got to build tons of land, just part of the strip mall. Forget that, man. I'm just mailing it from my house in Silicon Valley or where. Maybe he probably has a factory when he starts, right? But so we lower the cost, and we can go further down the tail. We can personalize movies even more. And then he makes this gutsy call, which seems totally easy now, but it was tough when he said scrap DVDs were just going to stream, and that's going to be the primary business model. And then we really go all the way down the tail. And if you brace yourselves, calculus reference coming, if you remember high school math, the area under the curve of this long tail, if it's long enough under blue here, becomes greater than the area under the curve in red. And so you have a truly long tail, you can provide more value to the people you're serving there than you can in the head with just the Blockbusters. And here's the sad part, is that for 300 years, we have been saying this to school. Be all three, please, at the same time. And we try to personalize schools, and we try to blend them, and we try to unbundle them, but we don't try to acknowledge that maybe we should think about different mechanisms. So what if we did this? What if we said maybe school could do less and just focus on the core and not try to personalize? And learning spaces, many of which you guys are building, could provide some of the same versatility that Blockbuster did. More choice, still in person, you gotta drive down the street and talk to me, but I'm gonna give you more choice than you could get in that simpler, more affordable micro school. And then maybe digitally, maybe not, but certainly a lot of you are thinking about digital delivery. What if we can provide even more choice digitally? So this is just one way to think about unbundling school. We have 400 years of history to knock down, but this is just one way to think about it. So I think the future of school is more unbundled because I think that will make it better for children. Don't hear me saying tear it up, blow it up, and just let the market rule. I don't believe in that. I believe that we need to be careful about this. It is a sacred good, and we need to regulate and be thoughtful, which is why we test small here, because we don't want to be reckless, but we want to change what school is. Last point. This is not some PG-13 movie where you're the hero and I really want you to make it. This is a rated R movie. Not really sure if I like you or not yet. That was my horrible rendition of Vince Vaughn in the classic 90s movie, Swingers. Available now on Netflix, not Blockbuster, and also not movie theater. Okay. Why is this rated R? Because, friends, the existing status quo does not want to change. That institution, I'm not talking about the humans in it, I'm talking about the institution does not want to change. It has been based on structural bias and racism.
Yes.
We have not actually thought about letting students and family have more power. We are usually just cool with saying, why don't you choose from the stuff I put in front of you?
Yeah.
But don't come on this side and actually make the food with me. Just stay over there and choose from what I've given you.
Wow.
That's not what the system's designed for, not to let them in the kitchen. I want them in the kitchen. As a parent, I want to be in the kitchen. As other parents, I want you to be in the kitchen for your kids, for my kids. I want you cooking, learning for my kids. Relationships over transactions. This thing has been built on transactions for 370 years. I believe in school as the one thing that can bring us together in this nation that's more effective at that than anything else. And I want to use it for that. And the reality is, to change all this stuff, that's a rated R movie, not some sweet Disney G-rated flick, right? And I don't know about you, but my inner teacher still hears the voices of people saying, that's so sweet that you went into education and you're helping children. Thanks, good for you.
Yes.
That is BS. And we have to unpack our own identities as successful professionals, as adults, and understand that that is not the movie we are in. He's not as well known as Langston Hughes was, but he's my favorite living songwriter. And Melanie wrote a song in '95 called Skin. There's one verse. Now look, if you're going to come around here and say those sort of things, you got to take a few on the chin. You're talking about love and all that stuff. You better bring your thickest skin. You better bring your thickest skin to this game, because we are in the business of changing an institution that has refused change for centuries. And that's why we do this in community, because we have to stick together. So I think the future of school is rated R. I was talking about this deck with Hassan a few weeks ago, days after he posted a video about what it felt like for him to respond to the ban.
That was crazy. That
The
video
executive order.
almost made me
If you've
cry.
not seen the video of him bearing his soul and explaining what that feels like as a human being, please take some time and watch it. It was an utterly remarkable display of leadership. Thank you for your courage in that, Hassan. And his reaction to this early draft was, it's not about what the future of school looks like, it's this sound. It's this idea, I hear in my head bubbles popping. In some sense, that ban was an attempt to put a bubble around people.
Yeah.
And look deep, friends, because if you've been an educator, you've been probably putting kids in bubbles. I know I have.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to think about popping those bubbles. So I want to just show you an example of what this not just sounds like. We can all make the sound pop. We know what that sounds like. That was a pretty sad bubble. But I want to show you. We're also going to listen to what this looks and sounds and hopefully feels like. This is a bubble. Let's watch it pop. 2,000 frames a second. $18,000 frames a second. I just showed you the future of school. That's what I think the future of school is. In some ways, a lack of learning, a lack of knowledge. You know, I always we've used this phrase, oh, the light bulb went off. I like this better. The bubble just popped for you. You just learned something new. As a human being, the bubble that kept you from other human beings just went away. To me, if you think about learning, humans learning together as our definition of school, this is a remarkable picture of what school could be. So let's do this together. I think the future of school is all of these things, but if I could pick one way to describe it, it would be that. And if we're building it, then we should probably talk about what it's like to do that here. So we're going to spend the next 20 minutes doing that together. So this is a very sophisticated diagram that I threw together to help you through the next 25 minutes. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to pair up with someone ideally that you are not in a Lego group with and not in a geographic group with. And I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Mal and Allie are going to walk through in just a few seconds and give each of you a stack of stickies and a Sharpie. And I'd like for you to just work in a pair. You can be silent, you can talk to each other. However the two of you choose to build your culture for the 10 minutes is yours to decide. At the end, I'd like some stickies, each of which describes a bubble that you experience. I'll give you an example. These are some of my stickies. So yours might be different. That's just some examples.
Oh,
And then after that, we're going to all walk up to this wall together, and we're going to put them on the same wall. I have 2 rules for that part of the exercise. Your sticky must touch someone else's sticky. The same way when you touch a bubble, what happens? It pops. And I want you to put it next to a sticky that sounds different from you. Be intentional about where you're going with your bubbles. And then we're just gonna wander around for 10 minutes and talk about it. Cool, any questions about that? Okay, so Austin and I are gonna transition to, well actually I'm not gonna do music because it'll make things difficult. So go ahead and pair up and start talking. I'll start the clock. Mal and Allie are passing stuff out, but you can go ahead and get started. And we'll start the clock now.
All right, folks. Does everybody have a pair in their own space? Because if that is the case, we could have ourselves. Chris, it looks like you don't.
Right here with me. Zach, come over just a second.
Well, how about this? Is there anybody who doesn't? We could have Chris and
Come back a second.
oh, there's more people here. I can do breakout groups, and you guys could talk amongst yourselves. Awesome. All right. Well, Miriam, NYC. So NYC, you mute out. Chris, Miriam, you talk. And Joanne, would you like to jump in as well and just talk with the group that's online? That just means that New York just has to mute. And that way you don't overhear their convo.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, Matt.
Thanks for making it. Miss you.
Yeah. You guys too. For sure.
Oh, God, so good to see your faces.
It's fun. All right, cool.
All right, see ya.
So New York, you guys got it. You can mute us, and then whoever else is online, you guys can chat. All you have to do if you're online is just make sure you unmute. I'll hang out. I'll talk with you all.
Can you take some of the stickers on a wall? Would that be doable?
Yeah.
You're going to get your volunteer to help with that?
If you guys want to bring your stickies as you're done talking to me, I'll just listen in, and I'll actually write them down. I can bring them to the wall for you. Make sense? Everybody good?
All right.
Awesome. All right, New York, you got it. And then online, I'll just join the conversation with you.
You stay young and go for them. You stay.
So what do we think The prompt question is, what bubbles have you been a part of in your life, right? Matt, it's bubbles you feel, bubbles you currently feel or experience, have felt or experienced. I'll type it into chat as well.
Bubbles have been popped. It is difficult to do so.
Okay, Zach, so what are we doing? Who are we working with? Which group are we working with?
We just have to make figures of everything that we've experienced.
Are we working together, guys?
Trying to.
Who's that? Is that Joanne?
Yeah.
Okay, Joanne. This is Michelle and Zachary. I don't know who else can hear us. We're supposed to be working as a group. That's frozen. All right. So, Joanne, do you have anything that you've experienced in schools that you'd like to write us on a sticky that Zachary and I can write for you?
Yes, I've experienced in schools some social ostracization.
Okay. Social ostracization?
Yes. Based on just not conforming to what was considered normal at that time. And that also led to some educators kind of from class assignments.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Hi.
But you, Michelle?
I experienced stereotyping. Zachary has bullying and harassment. There's so many things that I can think of in my head. What else, Zachary? I could say non-inclusive, so not allowing, not taking in the feelings of the parents. You understand? So not involving the parent. I felt like I wasn't involved with a lot of my child's educational process.
Also felt that when there were some disciplinary issues, instead of addressing potential clinical concerns, there were punishments that were given out without notifying me.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Joanne? I only heard about the clinical.
I said when children that had some clinical concerns were not addressed, which led to them acting out, they were punished instead of without notifying the parent.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, this is Chris. I'm in New York. I wasn't able to go down to Civic Hall, but for me, some of the bubbles that I've experienced growing up, I'm from Massachusetts in the Northeast, so very homogenous in terms of where I'm from. I mean, I lived in a lot of ways a privileged and sheltered life as well, in that I had two parents and a extended family as a support structure. So, I mean, those are all things that, as I began to work in education, those bubbles began popping as I began working with students in Los Angeles and New York, and even in my hometown who did not have the same opportunities that I did. Those are all some of those different places.
So what would you say if I was to write that down in like 3 words? How would you describe that?
I mean, I would say just you know,
It doesn't have to be 3 words, but just short, just something that I can write.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
I mean, I would say it's an insular society. I lived in very very self-contained.
Okay, self-contained. Okay.
Yeah. And then being exposed to a lot of other perspectives and points of view that were different than my own once I moved out of education.
Okay.
So that culture shock.
Okay. So I can understand that, because the same thing, I'm a mother of 6, started out with 3, that's a long story. If you ever get a chance, watch his documentary, Zachary here. But we'll talk about that another time. But so we moved here into a neighborhood similar to what you just described, as an African-American parent. And so we moved in a community where you grew up, and it was kind of a culture shock for, I think, the people here, because they didn't understand us. And they had a stereotype of what they thought people like us looked like. And so they didn't understand a lot of culture. I think there's a cultural barrier that a lot of people don't get when it comes to the African American community. There's a lot of stereotyping that we heard. I don't want to say we didn't really have any issues with racial profiling, but a lot of things that people didn't understand that we might have found offensive, they might not have, because they didn't understand.
Like what happened with the white.
Right. So a lot of things happened here that we had to go into the schools and talk to people and get them to understand us and what we were about, because I think there was apprehension on the community here, because there wasn't a lot of people that looked like us. So yes, I do get that, and I'm coming from a different point of view though, because you grew up there, and my kids grew up here, but it was a little difficult to transition when we first came, because people didn't know what to expect when they saw an African American family moving into a community like that. So I get it. So I would say for us it was cultural differences. There was a lot of stereotyping. Zachary? Another thing that we find that especially with my nephew Zachary here, is that teachers, not just this community, but we find that educators, and I think Joanne mentioned it earlier, they don't always look at the clinical part of it. So they assume that a child who's not getting good grades in school, or who's quiet and sitting there just is not interested.
A lack of empathy.
There's a lack of empathy and understanding, instead of saying, well, maybe there's something else going on. In my case, I had a child that was suffering from depression and anxiety, and a lot had happened. And so this was a child who was sitting in the back of the classroom, and he was failing. But in their mind, he just doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to do his work. And it wasn't until, a lot of things, we had some meetings, people were able to understand. So there's a clinical part that I think that the teachers need to look at, which Joanne had mentioned earlier. There needs to be more of an empathetic look from teachers. We experienced that. So there was a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding, and instead of assuming that a child is not interested, maybe looking at the bigger scope of what's really happening with that child. Is this kid being bullied? There's another instance that we've had with kids with that too. So empathy, I think, and looking for the clinical part. I've worked with children who were bullied, who were failing tremendously in school. And again, this with the teachers, and I work in an after-school program now, teachers feel, oh, this kid doesn't want to do anything with their lives. This child is being bullied, and you turn your eye to this kid on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that I've experienced personally. So I'm writing all this down. I'm so sorry. What's your name again?
Chris.
Chris. Hi, Chris. This is Zachary.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
So bullying, harassment. I think, Joanne.
I also feel like contending with insular communities, as Chris mentioned earlier, because this school district that I'm in, which is upper middle class, most of the people that live here have been here for generations.
Yeah, that's what Chris just said about his life. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. They've lived here for generations, and we're not, and the teachers' families have lived here for generations. And they graduated with some of the children's parents. So where there would be an empathetic look towards someone they graduated school with, that would not necessarily be so for someone outside. And that again is still more of a social component than
The worst things about an exercise like this.
We're going out to have dinner on Tuesday anyway.
Thanks. One of the worst parts of an exercise like this is stopping it. Like, did any of you get a chance to just like hear that? That's one of my favorite sounds on the planet. It's like a big group of people talking to each other. So I apologize, I had to break it up. I'm going to modify my rules because I walked around and talked to a couple, and I saw folks put some bubbles together with words like fear or misunderstood. So I'd like to change the rules a little bit. If you see a sticky that has a word like that on it, you can put your sticky next to it if you have a similar word or feeling. If it's something that is more about how others see you, that's more external, I challenge you to put your sticky near something that's different. But if you share one of those emotions with someone, you have permission and encouragement to put your sticky next to that person and pop the bubble between you. Maybe you can share that emotion. I've thought about a lot of different ways to structure the next 10 or 15 minutes. Do I make you go talk to someone? Do I make you find a sticky and put your name on it? And I just decided to scrap all those rules and just constrain you to being together up front. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise the shades in the screen. And I'm going to give you this wall. And there's only one rule. Put your sticky and your stickies, your bubbles, on the windows first. We'll probably fill up the windows pretty quick, and then we'll fill up the wall between them. And let's just see if this doesn't help us get to know one another better and pop the bubbles between us. Okay? I will see you. We'll come back together with another awkward map making you stop talking moment in exactly 10 minutes. So let's do this as quickly as we can and see what kind of conversation it sparks. What are we gonna do?
Cool beans. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Right on. I'm going to wear these headphones, and I might pass this off to Matt, but we're just going to walk around and be your eyes and ears. And I'm going to place the stickies you added to the chat. But I'm going to pass this to Matt, and he can talk to you guys while I place the stickies on your behalf. I'll let you know what I see.
Okay.
Hey, y'all.
Hi, Matt.
All right. How are y'all feeling?
Great.
Great.
I miss you guys.
Now that I'm not there.
Yeah. We're jealous in NYC.
I'm jealous. I'm sorry y'all can't be here. It's such a bummer. Where is everybody? It looks like everybody's at home, or
We're at home. We're at home here. Jack and I are at home.
Yeah, we're at Civic Hall.
all right. And did y'all y'all gave Austin's put some of your stickies up. Check out the crowd. Do y'all know how Mikey got here?
No, how'd you get there?
Mikey rented a car on Wednesday night. They drove through the night, did not sleep, got here the 30 minutes into the happy hour. It was amazing.
I've done that drive before.
From New York? Where did you drive from?
Yeah. Hey, Mikey, where did you rent your car? What part? Brooklyn? He went to JFK. He got a car at JFK. Is that crazy?
You should have picked that up
at the New Orleans airport.
And they dropped it off at the New Orleans airport.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying you guys are lame.
We're nuts.
Just
We're
saying.
insane. It's not a
They're
good idea.
nuts.
Don't do it. We almost died. Stay there.
There's some we gotta come up with some kind of award for that. That was insane.
Yeah. That's dedication.
It is hardcore dedication. I was tweeting ridiculous gifs of cars driving fast the whole way down.
I couldn't have done that. That's crazy.
Oh,
That was
I
crazy.
shouldn't have done that again.
All right, do y'all want to talk to anybody? All right, say hey to David.
So we're here.
David's.
Hi.
Say hey to Willie.
Hi, guys.
Willie came from Miami, so no sympathy.
Sorry. Oops. That's
All right, here, I'll show you the picture. It's total pandemonium, which is beautiful.
This really excuse myself after I met her.
What?
This really excuse myself after I met her.
Yeah.
Here, why don't we?
It's so wonderful. They could join us this way.
Y'all say hey to Allie. She's from Alabama.
Hi, everybody. Glad you could join us this way. We miss you. Don't know who you are, but we miss you.
Say hey to DC. DC folks made it. Hey Austin, do you? I gotta roll right to the board meeting, so. You take over? No, you don't need to take over this now. But hi y'all. Can Roth? Does Roth
Sorry. You want to put it on my head?
See you later, y'all.
Bye.
Oh, that's the first I got this. Look at this.
Oh yeah. Wow, don't mess up the hair.
Perfect. Cool. I got your 3 of your stickies on the board. You can see what's happening. There's like a whole bunch of people. Kind of hard to form clusters because everyone's fighting for this the same spot on the wall. But yeah, it was cool. A lot of people put similar stuff around like stereotyping and cultural differences and feeling like yeah, just like feeling marginalized. It's really interesting to see and I think relevant, sadly. So, anywho, I don't want to interrupt the conversation that was happening. Just Matt had to hand this off because he's running off to take over the next part of the convo. But I'll let you guys have continued conversation in New York since you have a group there. And then I think we have like one little bit left, but I'll let you know. And we also can send you more deets about what we're going to try and do this again tomorrow. If you have feedback, also would love it right now. So if you're not thinking or talking about anything, you could drop it in this channel just to see how we could make it more simple for you to join. That'd be valuable because I think we're figuring it out as we go.
Nice.
I thought it streamed pretty well.
Zach? Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello. Hey.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Where are you guys?
New York. We're in New York.
No, we are too, but where are you right now?
Oh, Civic Hall. We're at Civic Hall. We got together. There was an email that said that we were all meeting. Maybe you can
Oh,
get
for lunch and all that down the city. Okay.
Yeah, where are you?
So we're in Orange County. Are you guys familiar with Woodbury Common?
Yes. Yeah, my mom lives by there.
And they're there.
Right. So it's the biggest shopping mall with all the outlets. Everybody, like, who has money goes and spends all of their dough on a regular basis. It's all the high-end stores. So every time I say Woodbury Commons, everyone goes, yeah, I shop here all the time. So we're like about 15. We're 15 minutes from this. We got like almost a foot of snow up here.
Yeah.
We got a lot of snow, so we weren't trying to drive down to Manhattan today.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It makes sense.
So you guys got stuck also?
Yes.
Well, Megan has the worst story where
we were on the airplane and we had left the gate, and then they turned our plane around and sent us back to the gate. We were the first flight not to get out.
Oh my God! What time was your flight?
8 a.m.
Yesterday or today? Yesterday. Sorry.
It was very sad.
Yeah, the weather here sucks. We got screwed on this end. It's
Yeah, but only this one story. It was like one day.
I know, it was one day, and then even by the evening, it wasn't that bad anymore.
No, yeah.
But it was the same. I don't know. Were you guys there last year?
Wait, sorry, say that again?
Did you guys go last year?
No.
Katie and I did. Yeah. Oh, Katie's?
Kim.
Kim, sorry. Do you want to say hi? Because no one can see.
I don't know.
Yeah, Zach was there last year. As you guys remember, Zach, he was there. He was there last year at the program, and so we got stuck coming back. There was a blizzard here in New York.
No. Wow.
Right. So we were stuck there
To get stuck there.
2 days in New Orleans. So we got there.
Good to see you.
We didn't like getting stuck in New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, but that was great.
No, it's all good. Hey guys.
Hey.
Sorry to interrupt. I've been like listening in like this creepy stalker way as I walk around with this computer full of faces. So this is fun. I want you guys to totally keep talking. Matt's about to wrap up, and it'll just be sort of brief. But any like continuation of the conversation you want to have here, online, I won't close the meeting, or in person in New York if you're in a cluster, or with a buddy that you're with. Please do. Thanks so much for joining and like making the time. And I'm just stoked to see the familiar faces I see here. And tomorrow we'll do it again if it's convenient for you to make it. And just let me know if anything, could be better. I think that tomorrow Matt's talking about like what 4.0's got in the works for next year to sort of move towards this vision that you heard about today. So we'll also record it and try and send it out as well. But I really appreciate it. You are awesome for getting together and hopping online.
Thank you for doing this for us. This was great. I really appreciate it. This was great. Thank you for including us.
No, thanks for being a part of it, man. So much fun. All right, I gotta run. Bye, y'all.
Bye. We're gonna check off too. Great speaking to you guys. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Things to do. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Chris. Where's Chris go? Where'd he go? Okay.